And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pin Dr. Schickel and turn it over to Nan.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Denise Schickel has been is a PhD in organizational psychology, and she has been a massage therapist for over 30 years. Denise has also written an itty-bitty book on self-care for baby boomers. In addition, she has worked as a Peace Corps volunteer, which also means she understands self-care for expatriate workers, as well as the stress and personal change facing us because of this pandemic. As a self-care expert, Denise has developed a strategy for discovering customized and personal ways for dealing with stress through assisting others to embrace better self-care in our current busy lifestyle culture. In this 10-minute university, Denise will present some fundamentals for self-care for everyone living on the physical plane. We're going to have a Q&A open mic at the end of the session, but you can also post your questions in chat and I will read them to Denise at the end. And here's Denise.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to the talk about stress and self-care. So I hope everybody's just nice and relaxed right now. Just take a nice deep breath and settle in. What I'm going to talk about today are some basic fundamental principles. And I'm going to do it in the form of a story where these principles will be illustrated by examples. Now, generally overall, I'm going to present the definition of the terms, areas of concern in our life, locus of control, which is very important, a formula called E plus R equals O, the use of essential oils, and self-care basics. And then we're going to talk about a checklist at the end. Next slide. So we've all come out of what could be one of the most difficult years in our lives for most of us. So whatever self-care strategies we had going in, we had to develop more during this period because it was more difficult. Now, what happened to us was all of a sudden we were shut down, our whole lives were upended, and it was completely out of our control. So what is that? That's external locus of control. There's nothing we could do. Well, what could we do? And this is where E plus R equals O comes in. E is the event. For us, it was COVID. R is our response to the event. Our response to the event is what creates the outcome that we get. So my workplace was shut down all of a sudden. I'm sure yours was too. And the first thing I did was think, well, do I have enough money? Can I support myself during the duration? And then we got on unemployment and then I didn't have to worry about that. So then I thought, okay, there's nothing I can do about my situation, but what can I do within it? And this is internal locus of control. What can you do in spite of it? And so whatever self-care you had, you could develop more and you could do anything during this period of time because we didn't have to be anywhere. We couldn't go to work. We really were afraid to go out for months on end. So we had all this time. So it was a good opportunity to experiment. And that's what a lot of people did. A lot of people started cooking, baking bread. I was baking bread, making masks. And then I discovered that I could write like fun stuff instead of graduate school work. So I started writing, and that was the best thing that happened during my pandemic shutdown was I was writing a lot and I was very, very happy. I was surprised. So perhaps some of you discovered new parts of yourself that you didn't know you had before the pandemic, which is positive. I need a new slide. So the definition of stress is a state of mental, emotional, or physical tension resulting from this external event. And as I said already, any practices used to alleviate stress and maintain health and well-being is categorized as self-care. Fundamentally, we have our mental practices, we can seek support from other people, and we have our physical practices. For example, when I'm stressed out, no matter what it is, I go to the gym. I feel better. I'm sure a lot of you have your go-to fail-safe stress reduction technique. Now, you can Google self-care and you will come up with thousands of pages and articles telling you what to do. But self-care is not a one-size-fits-all. There are lots of authorities that are willing to tell you what to do to take care of yourself, but that might not be what fits for you. And what fits for you now, or what fitted for you in the past, might not fit for you now, because we evolve and we change. So what you really need to do is discover for yourself what works for you. A lot of people tell you to keep a journal. So you write down in your journal what happened, how you feel, what you did about it. And you have this narrative going on and on about all these different feelings and emotions and activities and events. It's very hard to wade through that to get to the kernel of what was really valuable, how you handled the problem that you had. And I used to tell people to write a journal. I've tried writing journals. I'm not very good at it myself. Even in my little book, which I'm going to show you now, can you see? Self-care for baby boomers. I go over the fundamentals, proper water, proper exercise, proper nutrition. You have to get proper rest. You have to take care of your physical body. No matter what happens in the external world, you are always in your body and you can always take care of yourself physically. And that's fundamental. That's ground zero. Because the stronger and healthier you are, the better you can handle the stress that comes your way. So I'm not very good at journals, like I said, and you're always advised to keep a journal. And I was thinking, I was struggling with how do I talk to people about how they discover a self-care program for themselves. And then I read this book. Ta-da! The Checklist Manifesto. It's all about checklists. The man who wrote this book is a doctor. He's a surgeon. And he was very upset about all the problems that happen in medicine, the mistakes that people make in the operating room, and somebody dies because they overlooked something simple that they knew how to do, but somebody overlooked it, or somebody didn't communicate about it, or somebody forgot to tell somebody something. And so he started looking around. He was thinking, well, you know, airplanes have to fly, and pilots in the airline industry can't make the kind of mistakes in the airline industry that we make in medicine. So what are they doing differently? And he found out that they had checklists for everything. As soon as the pilots get in the plane, they open the checklist book. They get in their seat, they look at the book, turn on the airplane, fasten your seatbelt, do this, do that. And they follow the checklist every single day. Even though they've flown thousands of missions, they follow the checklist because it's so easy to forget the little simple things. The things that we think we know, we aren't paying attention when we're doing them, and that's when we forget. And we leave the stove on when we leave the apartment or something like that because we're thinking about something else. So I want to tell you an example that he mentioned in this book about the checklist. You remember the miracle on the Hudson when Captain Sullenberger landed that plane on the Hudson River years ago in New York City? Those birds flew into the engines and the engines died. And everybody hailed him as this great heroic man. And he was. But you know what he said? They got out the checklist book and they followed the checklist. And they followed every single step and they did everything according to the checklist, and they managed to land the plane. So I recommend that you start to make checklists. A checklist of everything that stresses you out so you can see it and get it out of your head, and a checklist of things that you do that work to reduce your stress. And then keep an ongoing list for yourself, whether you call it self-care list, locus of control list, whatever you call it. Keep track of things that work And then you will be able to develop a whole program for yourself. Which brings us to this slide that's up right now. It's in the small habits. Every little tiny thing you do matters. What do you do in the morning when you get up? What do you say inside your head? Do you have negative self-talk? If you find yourself talking negatively, you can switch it, like changing a channel on a radio. What you read, what you watch, who your friends are, who has access to you. Boundaries are very important. And the next one, how to get happy feelings, right? Dopamine, the reward chemical, oxytocin, the love hormone. You know, if you're an extrovert, you know what to do. You want to go out and be around your friends and have community and interact. And introverts, you know, we might be reading or writing or listening to music or something. But the more you focus on what you're doing now, when you're doing it, it's mindfulness, being present, be here now, the better you will get at understanding what you need to do for yourself to take care of yourself. And I just want to mention, I think I mentioned the essential oils. I got into them when I was home for months on end, and you know, you diffuse the oils, it smells great at home. So there's so many little things you can do. I'm going to turn it back over to Nan, and we're going to go into the, here are the references. Everydayhealth.com. It's a big article and blog, all sorts of things about self-care. There's the link for my book, and there's the link for the checklist manifesto as well. And there's a link for essential oils, youngliving.com, which is the premium essential oil company in America. So please think about what I said. We'll talk about the questions and we'll discuss the concepts, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Okay,